Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games, back with another cool arcade game repair video we're going to film for you. We got in a while back this super cool Midway Space Zap arcade game, and we're going to try to fix it. So we figured we'd film us trying to fix it. So I don't know anything about Space Zap, never had one, never played it. It's got that, the cabinet is very similar to a Wizard of War cabinet. It's not exact or anything, and you know, Wizard of War doesn't have any of this, but it just has that vibe to it, to me. And it was made right around the same time, and it has the card system in it, where the motherboard is a bunch of separate little cards. It's the same motherboards that were in Gorf. So Gorf, Wizard of War, and Space Zap. There may be a couple other games too. But look how cool the cabinet is. Just has an awesome look to it. So we'll take the back door off, look inside of it, and see what we got going on. Okay, so the back door is removed, and inside we have, that looks like a Wells Gardner monitor to me. That's the similar, it's a black and white raster monitor, just like what's in like Space Invaders. So we should be able to fix that. And then down here in the bottom is the rack that the cards go in, but there's one card missing. I don't know if Space Zap uses all of the cards though. It may not. So that you've got the card on the edge with the board with the wires connected to it. Then there's two big cards and two smaller cards. The two smaller cards I think are RAM cards. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look in the manual and see if we're missing a card. If we're missing a card, that'll be fun to track down. But it may have just been made like that. So let's go check in the schematics. Okay, so I'm looking on the schematics online, and if you look, you can see that there are in fact only 5 cards. They just have them in kind of a different place. They don't have a gap in the middle. They got the one over this way more. So we've got all of the cards, it looks like. So the next thing that we need to do is check out the power supply. Okay, so what we did was we unplugged the power going into all of the racks, because the only problem that you could potentially have when it comes on really is if the power supply is screwed up and sending too much voltage to the board, it might blow everything, you know. So whenever we turned it on, the monitor actually came up. If you look closely, see the orange neck glow on the monitor? So it's at least trying to work. And I was just getting ready to check the power supply. So these are the voltages coming off of the power supply. Right? So there's this little connector down here. And so I'm just going to check all of those with the multimeter, and we'll see what we get. So amazingly, the power supply is actually still working, but when we turn it on, we get a flat-lined monitor, so there's no vertical deflection. So if you had a line smashed this way, the long way, that would mean there's no horizontal deflection. But since it's smashed this way, there's no vertical deflection. But there is a little bit, so it might just be an adjustment or something. But there's probably something wrong with the monitor. So the next thing we're going to do is see if the game's up and running. So when you put a credit on it, nothing happens. So the game board's probably not running, and the monitor isn't working. Ooh, that's always fun. So I tried adjusting the vertical size on the monitor, can't get it to do anything different. But we do have something different. If you put the game in test mode, it's like it tries to do some kind of test thing, and then you get some screwy stuff on the screen. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is try to get the deflection working on the monitor, and then we'll see what the image looks like on the screen, and then we'll work through the board set. Okay, folks, so here's what I was able to get after recapping the deflection board on the monitor. It still didn't have vertical deflection, and so I replaced some transistors, and I think it's a transistor that's kind of rare called a PUT, programmable something transistor. So I have to order that, but I actually had another complete monitor that I was able to cap the deflection board off of and put in here, and it's the exact same thing. And at first glance it looks like it's still screwed up, but if you look really close, Let me turn off the lights. Isn't that one of the best parts of my videos, when you get to go with me to turn off the lights? So if you look really close on the monitor, the top, it looks like all of the color is just a piece of plastic that's laid over the monitor. It's not creating that, it's just making a white screen. But if you look, what it's doing is it's drawing in half of the screen. There you go, see the lines? It's drawing in half of the screen, and then the other half has these horizontal lines. It doesn't have it all the way drawn in. So I'm sure that's some kind of clue as to what's happening, but I'm unaware of what exactly that would mean. So I'm going to have to do some research and see if we can figure it out. But it looks like it's doing some kind of startup thing, and it's not finishing. Let's see if we turn it off and then right back on, if you can see it drawing them in. I don't know where the power switch is. All right, I can't tell if you can still see it, but I've got the... Okay, yeah, we're getting something different now. So that seems like some kind of RAM thing to me, that is drawing just patterns and things. So I'll do some research on it, and we'll see if we can figure out what that means. So looking in the manual, the old manual from 1980, October 1980, it says RAM-ROM test, Space Zap. Placing the test switch located on the audio amplifier assembly in the coin box area to on performs the following functions. 1, it removes all accumulated credits. We hadn't accumulated any credits. 2, it tests the screen RAM. 3, it tests the static RAM. 4, it tests the game ROM, EEPROM. 5, it repeats all tests indefinitely. Placing the test switch in the off position returns the game to normal operation after completion of the ROM test. If you were to turn the test switch off during the screen RAM test, it would take approximately 15 seconds before the game would reappear. The game does a modified form of RAM test upon power up or whenever the door slam switch is activated. If an error is found, the program continues the test until the error is cleared. Therefore, it is possible that the game will never start, and or there may be no indication of anything on the screen if there is a RAM error. If all RAM and ROM are good, the only indication will be an occasional flash on the screen, approximately every 16 seconds. This indicates that it has passed all tests and is starting the test sequence over again. If an error is found in the screen RAM, you will see the flash on the screen followed by flashing random horizontal bars. It will then cycle through the test again until the error is cleared. If an error is found in the static RAM, there will be short bursts of flashing horizontal bars displayed on the screen. It will then cycle through the screen RAM test and the static RAM test again until the error is cleared. The cycle time is approximately 3 seconds. So I put it back in test, and we're getting some variation of what they were just talking about. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to test the power on all of those boards to make sure that it's getting 5 volts through that connector and through the bottom of that cage and everything. And we'll check the power lines, and then I'll report back. All right, so the it's getting 4.92 volts to the board, so that's probably close enough. I can adjust it, and I'll probably rebuild that power supply later. But I'm going to try swapping in some of these RAM cards. I've got some extra stuff laying around, so it sure looks like it's got bad RAM. So I'm going to see if I can swap one of these in and get anything different. We'll see if we get any kind of different image on the screen, or if that changes anything. Alright, so I know nothing about this game. I've never played it. I'd never even heard of it before I got this cabinet. So I don't know if it's acting right, but I think it is. So I took one of the RAM cards out, and I swapped in. I've had 4 spares. So I swapped in one of the spares, and it looked exactly the same. And so then I swapped in the next spare, and it looked almost the same, but it had a couple extra lines in it. And then I swapped in the third one, and it looked exactly the same. And then I swapped in the fourth one, and it looked all screwed up. So I figured that the second one and the fourth one were probably damaged, and the first one and the third one were probably exactly like the original one. So I figured I probably had 3 good RAM cards. So then I took the second RAM card and I swapped in one of the ones that I thought was good, and bam, came right up. So it's at least showing signs of life. Looks to me like it's running the attract mode. Let's try crediting it up, see if we get anything. Okay. Looks like it's playing, but we don't have the sound. Okay, so your gun is on the right. You hit that and you shoot. You aim up and you shoot. I can tell already I'm gonna like this game. This is pretty sweet. All right, so I don't know if the screen's supposed to flash like that. It's kind of cool, but it makes it bloom and stuff. I haven't rebuilt the power supply of the monitor yet, though, so that might keep it from messing up. All right, so that's enough for the night. I will start back up tomorrow, and we'll see if we can figure out the sound and some other things. Oh, on those RAM boards that are messed up. One thing I'm going to do is I'm pretty sure that you can download a RAM test chip that you put on the ROM board, and then it will tell you which chip is screwed up on the RAM board. So while I've got it open and working on it, I'm going to try to fix all of my RAM boards, and then I'll have good RAM boards to swap into, like if I get a Gore for a Wizard of War or whatever. So we'll do all that tomorrow. Alright folks, so we are checking out why the sound isn't working. So this is the soundboard. It mounts on this little bracket in the front of the game. And we looked in the schematics, and the fuse in the bottom controls the coin door light, the marquee lights, and the soundboard. And so the soundboard wasn't getting voltage and the fuse was blown. So we put the fuse back in, turned it on, bam! Big explosion. Smoke everywhere. It was horrible. I barely got out alive. So we turned it right off, of course. And then whenever we pull the board out, there's a little scorch mark, because on this board, right down at the bottom, is a capacitor, and it's this weird old capacitor. 22 UF. 15 UF, which we're going to replace with a 22 UF. And it had literally, it blew a hole in it, and the thing is shorted, so it's actually, I'm down, I can do that, but if you oh, I don't have enough. I can't, I'm not dexterous enough to do it, but whenever you check it, it's there's like 2 ohms between it. It's basically, it's shorted inside. So we're going to replace that cap, put it back on the board, put everything back together, and try it again. Okay folks, so we put the soundboard back in, and that fixed the sound. So we've got the sound doing its thing. I'll play it here in a second to show you. We also replaced the light bulbs behind the marquee, so that lights up and does its thing now. We're going to do some more cosmetic stuff. I took the I forgot to mention earlier, before we got it to come up, whenever we figured out that it was the RAM card, I took the chips that were in the sockets on the boards in there and cleaned all the pins on them and put them back in, and it didn't change anything. And then we figured out that it was the RAM card. We replaced the caps on the power supply. That was before we figured out that the soundboard was screwed up, but I checked all the caps on the power supply. I rebuilt the power supply just to make sure that the voltage was still there. And we're down to the last electronic thing that we've got is, I pulled the monitor back out. Of course, I'd already capped all that, and there was just a couple caps underneath the chassis. But there's this big filter cap here in the back. Let me show you that. On a lot of these older monitors, they've got these big caps here that have 4 different values all in the same cap. And so what'll happen is, let me see if I can get you in there to see it. There you go. So there's 4 different values written on the side of that cap. So what it says is A. Let me get down where I can read it. We're in the machine, people. And it's on. Doesn't that make it more exciting? So if you look, there's 4. There's a little diagram that it shows you on the bottom of the cap where A, B, C, and D is. And A, it says, is 125 volt 800 UF. B is 100 volt 200 UF. C is 50 volt 200 UF. And D is 200 volt 20 UF. Did I do that right? A, 125 volt 800 UF. B is 100 volt 200 UF. C is 50 volt 200 UF. And D is 200 volt 20 UF. So all of those values are in that one can, and there's 4 wires soldered to the bottom of the can. So what we did was we took the wire off of each one of those and soldered it to a brand new cap and then connected it to ground. But I didn't have the 800 UF one, so I had to order that. So I've ordered an 800 UF 125 volt cap to put in there. That's used for filtering the power supply voltages. So there's one little thing that it's doing. We adjusted the monitor a little bit better. There's actually a pretty cool detail in that middle piece that we didn't notice before. But this is our deal. See how whenever it explodes, the screen blooms, it actually gets smaller and then bigger? I don't know if that's by design or if that's the monitor not being able to handle that much brightness on the screen. So one thing, the only thing that would really cause that to do that would be the power supply. And so the caps in the power supply. So that I'm waiting on that one cap that I needed. I'm going to put it in and see if it fixes that problem. And then if it doesn't fix that problem, I'm going to look online and see if it's acceptable the way it is, but I'm going to watch other people's videos and just see if they all do that, or let's see when it does it here again in a second. Boy, he's doing pretty good. Uh-oh. Nope, he got away. Oh, he got him. He's doing pretty good. He might go on for forever, people. You know they always win eventually. There it is. Boom. Yeah, see how it moves sizes? I don't know if it's supposed to do that, so I'm going to look that up. Well, I'm going to replace that cap first, and if it doesn't fix that, then I'm going to see if they all do that. So that's really kind of the only thing that we're waiting on. So whenever we get that in, I will film it and show us putting that in, and then we'll check to see if it makes it better. Okay, folks, we did a little cosmetic work, and we got in our 800 UF cap and put it in, and it didn't change a thing. You can't even tell on the monitor. So we still got to clean it up a little bit more, but we've already actually been contacted by somebody who wants to buy it, so we believe it's sold. But I'm going to film a video of us playing it because it's such a cool game. After looking online at other videos of people's games, it looks like they all do that. Whenever the screen gets really bright, it overloads the voltage regulation, and it kind of blooms a little bit. They famously did that on Star Wars, like on the Star Wars Vector arcade game. Whenever you blow up the Death Star, it does that and makes a big freaking the screen gets bigger and smaller. But it looks like we're all ready. Here, I'll start it just so that this video is complete, and then we can do a separate one where we actually play it. It's kind of like Simon Says, right? Oh no, they got me. So there you go. Leave your comments below. Oh, I don't know if I showed the middle thing. That has a lot more detail than when I first filmed it. I had the contrast up so high you couldn't see any of the detail in it, but the little middle part has a lot of cool detail. So leave your comments below what you think, and we'll film a separate video of us playing it. Look, I got a new high score, people. I'm on an all new high, people. What do you think about that? Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think about this thing. Tell us if you remember playing this back in the day, and give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. Hopefully this will help you fix your Gorf, or your Robbie Roto, or your Wizard of War, or your Space Zap. So they're all very similar. So leave your comments below, and we will see you on the next video.